Greetings, Got That Funk with you, and I'm answering a question which was given to me almost 2 weeks ago now by my subscriber Dak Janiels 555, and the question is, should all drugs be legalized? And when I did my Q&A answers last week, I gave a brief answer of yes, but didn't really have time to go into it. In fact, I'm not really going to have as much time to go into it as I might like to do so, because every single point that I'm about to make could be a video all by itself. I could do a series once every 2 or 3 weeks all year and never finish with all the different reasons why I think that drugs should be legalized. So I'm just going to give you the 3 umbrella reasons why I think, and each reason has a list of the subcategories underneath it. My first reason, though, is human nature. I think if you look right around the world and throughout history, human beings have always, for whatever reasons, sought to alter their state of consciousness, whether this be by alcohol, which is very common, nicotine, obviously, caffeine, all those are very common because they're legal. And there's other kinds of ways to alter your consciousness, sometimes with illegal drugs, but there's also, meditation, sex, exercise. There's plenty of different ways. Sports that people can alter their consciousness. We don't normally think of them as altered consciousness, but it's, if you take the term literally, altering your consciousness means thinking in a manner or mode that is not normal for your daily life. Now, sometimes when I've had this conversation with various people and say how everyone in the world seeks to alter their consciousness from time to time, people come back and say, well, doesn't that imply that reality sucks? I can understand why you might think that that's what I'm saying, but that's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is that consciousness, almost by definition, seeks to expand itself. Sometimes it wants to be sped up, sometimes it wants to be slowed down, sometimes it wants to expand, and sometimes it wants to be dulled. Okay, and there's any number of different ways of doing all of those things. Some of them are drugs. So my attitude is, if it is part of human nature to want to alter your consciousness, surely you can't legislate against that. It doesn't make any sense. So that is one quick, brief overview of why one of the reasons I think it's wrong that drugs are illegal. Now, my second one is the liberty argument, and this all by itself could be a whole series of videos, but if you've not already seen it, I've done a video about a month ago called Sovereign. And basically the premise is that I am the sovereign of my body. If I am not the sovereign of my body, then I have no freedom at all. If I can't choose what I put into me, in what sense am I free? To me, it's the most basic freedom of all. If you haven't got freedom over your own body, what you can and can't do with it, then you aren't free at all. I could really expand on that a great deal, but I'm going to skip ahead now to the really big one, which is prohibition doesn't work. If you can't keep drugs out of prisons, how in the hell are you ever going to keep them out of society? It's a completely unrealistic aspiration from the point of view of the government. More to the point, though, drugs are available and society functions despite the fact that they're illegal and available. It is easier for a 15-year-old to get marijuana than a beer. And that's because the distribution of beer is regulated, whereas the distribution of drugs is not. This is the thing. If you're going to legalize drugs, careful regulation needs to be put into place. I think that it would also be advisable that drugs are phased in. You don't just legalize everything in a blanket way in one bit of legislation. It should be done gradually, and I think any revenues raised from the legalization of drugs should be put towards education about drugs, as well as treatment for people who do overindulge. Now, there are always going to be people that overindulge, whether drugs are legal or not. And I think you'll find in more liberal countries where drugs have been either decriminalized or legalized, usage actually goes down instead of up. There's a brief surge at first when they first become legal, and then after that the sort of the excitement of it wears off, or whatever, the novelty, and usage does go down. There are many reasons why prohibition is a bad idea. For one other reason, it gives the authorities more power over your liberty than they deserve. In other words, You're not supposed to be able to be searched by the police unless they have reasonable suspicion to reasonable cause to suspect you of committing some kind of an offense. And if they search your person or your property, your car, anything like that, they're supposed to be searching for something specific. Now, if drugs are illegal, that gives them something that they can say that they're searching for. They could just claim they smell something, even if they don't. Oh, what's that smell? I'm going to go and search your car now. I'm going to open up the trunk of your car and blah, blah, blah. It gives the police more of a reason to hassle you, more of an excuse. And people stereotype, and cops are no different. If you see somebody walking down if you need to bump up your quota of arrests for whatever, and don't think that cops don't sometimes have quotas. You'll see someone, say, walking down the street with dreadlocks, and you think, oh yeah, I'll search that guy. He's bound to have something. And that's only one example. Just look at me. Everyone looks at me and assumes I do drugs. And whether that's a fair assumption or not, it's irrelevant. I certainly don't want to be stopped every time a cop sees me and be searched. It's a complete infringement on my liberty. Another reason prohibition doesn't work is because we're supposed to be living in a free market capitalist economy, and where there's a demand, there is a supply. It makes sense to regulate the supply rather than have it in the black market. But also, if we really believe in free market economics and there is a demand, surely we should meet the demand. It makes sense to me. And because there is a demand, there are already substances out there which are not controlled substances, which you can get in shops, like the shop that I run. For example, here's some little space trips. Here's a little bag of E = XTC. Here's a little envelope of mind candy. All these can be legally sold over the counter because they are not controlled substances. And if you took an entire pill of mind candy, you would be speeding your tits off for 16 or 17 hours. They are stronger and cleaner than the drugs that are illegal on the black market. And I can sell them over the counter at my shop because they're not controlled substances. It makes a farce of having any controlled substances if you can sell stronger drugs legally. Salvia divinorum is a psychedelic smoke. I sell that in my shop as well. If you have a third of a cone of salvia at any significant strength, you forget who you are, you forget that you are. You forget you have a body. It's quite an experience, I can tell you that. But I'll tell you what else. It's way stronger than lots of illegal drugs. Mind you, salvia only lasts for 20 or 30 minutes. But even so, it's powerful stuff. And the fact that you can sell it over the counter to anyone over 18 makes a mockery, if you can sell something that strong, of what you can't sell. There's so many reasons why prohibition is bad. It creates a whole criminal underclass that we don't need. You shouldn't have to have jails full of people who are in jail just because they were getting high. I mean, that just seems really, really wrong to me. Anyway, there's all sorts of different ways I could go into the prohibition angle, but I am going to keep it limited on time. Dak Daniels 555, thank you for your question. I hope you got a little bit more of the answers. As long as we have careful regulation, distribution is carefully monitored, you might even have some kind of a rationing system for drugs that are chemically addictive, that kind of thing, so that people who don't overindulge or make it harder for them to overindulge and stay within the system. There are creative ways of going about dealing with this problem that are all better than prohibition. So I'm completely against prohibition on every single level. Anyway, I hope that answered your question, Dak Daniels 555. Thank you for asking it. This has Got That Funk, and may all your ups and downs be ups. Sorry if I was a bit incoherent this time. Take it easy.